We will continue on with our program into the open mic session. Now, when we started these preparations, and when people asked me to moderate this I was afraid of the most, because I have absolutely no idea how to do it. So I asked Olivier Crepin-Leblond, who told me, basically, it's very easy. Tell people there are two microphones. One is there, the other is there. Whoever of you wishes to address the audience before the EuroDIG should queue up behind these microphones. We also take remote moderated questions. And I ask you kindly all to keep your remarks short and concise. I ask you to be provocative, but at the same time keep your ideas productive. And with this, we start the open mic session. We have exactly 1 hour before the coffee break. And one more remark before I take your question. The badges that you have around your neck, they include the full program. So first of all, they're useful in that sense. And secondly, this is also the entrance ticket in the evening to the gala. So if you show up at the Kultuurigattel without this, you might not get to the handcraft Estonian beer and wine. So I suggest you keep that with you. But with this, I open the open mic session. Once again, the two microphones are here. I please ask anyone interested to queue up, and we can spend 1 hour on any thoughts that you have prior to the EuroDIG discussions to share with the group. Olivier.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivier Crepin-Leblond, and yes, I gave you a few of these ideas how to run this. I wear several hats, but one of them is being on the board of the EuroDIG Association. And I wanted to actually mention one thing, which is that yesterday and the day before yesterday, youth participants have met in what they called EuroDIG, and there was also another part that dealt with, was it copywriters? Copy fighters, that's the one, copy fighters. And I wanted them to actually all stand up so you can all see them, because they did 2 days of amazing work. So if you could just stand up, all the youth participants. So it's not just to tell them how great they've done, and I was really impressed, by the way, with the work that they did, but it's also for you to recognize them. So if they come over to you and ask a question and so on, be nice to them. Be nice to them, because they're really eager, they're really intelligent, and they will actually be able to help us out, continue with this multi-stakeholder model in the future. But most of all, they will also be paying our retirement money later on. So you got to be nice to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Anyone else? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Michael Ogia. I'm one of the EuroDIG participants, and I'm under the impression that this open mic is specifically about the future. I'm sorry to the people behind me if you can't see me. When it comes to the future, or what rather the future will or won't be like, I have two suggestions. The first corresponds to the fact that we cannot legitimately talk about access to the internet without addressing sustainability. Energy sustainability, product sustainability, human sustainability. Access and sustainability are intrinsically connected. It would be like trying to address world hunger without addressing food waste. I want to catalyze a paradigm shift in our community and in our discourse, one that places sustainability at the core of our work. Simply put, if we do not do this, if we do not make sustainability a key component of the internet, we will fail. I invite you to join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. for a workshop in sustainable access to begin making this a reality. The second, and slightly related, involves transcending platitudes when it comes to youth, those whose future will be affected the most. If we are serious about positive change, we must make the impact on the future of young people a key pillar of our public policymaking. The question, how will this affect future generations, should be a required consideration for all decision makers. I don't want to live in a world that was worse than when I was brought into it in 1988, but more importantly, as I approach parenthood, I already lose sleep over what I will say to them if they ever ask me who destroyed the world. Now is the time to ensure that I and everyone else never has to answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we take next question from this side, and then I move to you, Lane. Please.
Michael, thank you for your nice words. And impressed by the story from Siim Sikkut. Clear that Estonia is a leading country in using digitization to support its people. In that, so crucial to know that it's important that we also take that beyond borders. In Europe, we do that. We have a kind of joint e-government action plan. And actually, last week, Estonia also hosted an e-government conference to make that happen, to get the inspiration to go beyond borders. So that's one thing. The other thing, and I'm also an ICANN board member, what we see is that the internet is facilitating better collaboration across borders, across the world. And I think it's important we value that and leave the core of the internet secure and stable as much as we can. So.
Thank you very much. We move to this corner, and very, very kind of you to introduce yourself. If you could also please introduce yourself in the beginning.
Louise Bennett, the Chartered Institute for IT. I wanted to follow on from what was said by the earlier speakers, both about digital ID and sustainable development. I was extremely disappointed that the UN IGF and EuroDIG did not take part in producing this absolutely excellent document, Principles on Identification for Sustainable Development Towards the Digital Age, which was moderated by the World Bank Group and published in February this year. It has 10 absolutely fundamental principles that are entirely in line with the GDPR and other EU things on inclusion, design, and governance. And the three on governance, I think, are worth just mentioning. Safeguarding data privacy, security, and user rights through a comprehensive legal and regulatory framework, establishing clear institutional mandates and accountability, and enforcing legal and trust frameworks through independent oversight and adjudication of grievances. I would very much like to see this EuroDIG signing up to this as well as the other UN agencies that have signed up to this. I think it's really important, and I think one of the very important things about it is it's mainly been drawn up by people in developing countries. And so often, when you go to the UN IGF, you hear people in developing countries saying about things like GDPR, that's simply Europe being protectionist, stopping us from being able to do business in their country. And I think if we sign up to these principles, then we're much more likely to have good governance globally. And good governance globally is what is really important, because you can't be isolated in one country or one part of the world from the rest of the world. So I would like to get everyone to look at this and EuroDIG to sign up to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind remarks. I move to the gentleman on my right. You have the floor, sir.
Yes. Thank you. You asked us to be a bit provocative, so I tried to do so. Well, we listened that internet governance is related with our future, but I think that for youth policies in general, and for my experience as a young people, as an activist, as a citizen, it's part not of the future, but of the present. It's something that we have to tackle at the moment now, as far as possible, as soon as possible. I'm therefore an online activist and campaigner for the no hate speech movement, because human rights and democracy needs to be secured for me and everybody else that we meet online. Because internet, it's a public space that needs to be secured, and like the human rights needs to be safe for every one of us.
Thank you very much. I move to the gentleman on my left.
Yes, thank you very much. Nigel Hickson. I work for ICANN, but I'd like to say a few words as myself, so to speak. I'm from the UK, I'm a Londoner, and I'm proud to be a Londoner. I'm also proud to be an advocate for the internet. And I was inspired by the Estonian president this morning. It's fantastic to have a leader that's passionate, that's intelligent, that's articulate, that stands for freedom, that stands for openness. And sometimes I wish that we could all have leaders like that. But the point I want to make is for EuroDIG, and looking forward to the next couple of days. This is a marvelous institution. The IGF is a marvelous institution, and it's even more marvelous because of the youth. The youth inspires us. In the last two IGFs, the number of young people that have come to the platform, that have come to the microphone, that have made speeches that are our future, it is absolutely fantastic. And I think this EuroDIG has a real sense of anticipation, it has a real sense of urgency. And I hope this EuroDIG does one thing, and that's to extol the internet, to extol the freedom and the ambition and the creativity and the innovation that the internet brings, to make sure that we do have a global internet in the future, to make sure that our national strategies don't break down the internet, that this thing that we've created over the last few years maintains for the benefit of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I move back to my right. Lady, you have the floor.
Good morning, my name is Lila Nadetsky and I'm the National Campaign Coordinator of the No Hate Speech movement in Hungary. And my address is that internet governance has always been in the focus of the No Hate Speech movement. The activists, the supporters, the followers of the movement fight against hate speech online through counter-narratives, arguments, and even memes. We do believe that we can shape the evolution and the use of the internet by spreading tolerance, respect, and love.
Thank you very much. I wanted to add perhaps also that this chance that you have here is not just to address us, the people in the audience, the 400 of you who are here, but you also are addressing through WebEx the people listening back at home, and it's also streamed live to YouTube. So all relevant messages are most welcome. I move to the lady on my left.
Hello, I'm Elodie from Youth IGF Movement with Quentin. And so we are representing young people actually, so I would like just to react to Nigel's talk. And so I would just like to present our movement and saying that we are collecting voices and gathering young people to talk about different topics about the internet. And now I would like to just ask a question to all these senior representatives and leaders of the Internet Governance Forum and EuroDIG, and know how we can meet up and discuss about our suggestions, ideas, and how we could implement our ideas.
Thank you very much for the question. I believe the people who it was addressed to are in the room and can deliberate on this on the next 2 days. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Luigi Gambardella. I'm here in my capacity of President of China EU. And I participate not only in EuroDIG, but also in the global events many times in the past. And if we want to speak about future, I think it's important our community engage much more with China. The internet in China, China is the most important, the mass number of users of internet in the world are in China. And I would like to see more involvement of European with the Chinese. And I believe this is important. We have to keep open mind, understand the changes, and commit to discuss, even if there may be some differences, different ideas. And tomorrow, I hope we will have a chance with the Flash initiative to how we can further deepen the cooperation between Europe and China on internet governance. I think this would be very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Snyder, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. I'm also wearing several hats, but I forgot all of them at home. In addition to my role for the Swiss government, I'm one of the people working with Gerd and with the host and with Sander behind the scenes for EuroDIG. And another nice task that I inherited this year is that I'm responsible for the Global IGF, for the hosting of the Global IGF in December in Geneva. And of course, this is a heartfelt invitation for all of you to come to Geneva. We have like 30 degrees Celsius today, and we'll have 2 degrees plus and rain and fog on the 18th to 21st December. But the mountains are very close, and there you have sun and minus 3 degrees and very nice snow. But not during EuroDIG, during the IGF, only the weekend before and the weekend after, of course. So that was the teaser for all of you to come to the IGF, in particular the young people from Estonia and all over the world, because also there that is probably has proven to be a very useful and inspiring, as Nigel has said, inspiration, contribution. And talk about Nigel, I would fully like to support his personal statement, also in my personal capacity, and giving at the things that we all witness in our countries or in other countries about people mobilizing for trying to turn back the clock and wishing the world back as it used to be in the 1950s or 60s or whenever that they thought it was better. I don't really think that this will work out. So with all the risks and dangers and opportunities that we face with the digital transformation, I think the only way to get to a world that we would still like to live is to actually stand up, speak up, and fight for the good values, fight for equal rights for everybody, fight for opportunities, innovation, do it together, and don't complain back at home in front of your computer. Get new ideas, get constructive, and engage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. We might get a small chance to listen to Thomas later today as well, but that's all I say about the subject at this point. Chris, you have the floor.
Sorry, Thomas, I'm a little taller. Chris Buckridge from the RIPE NCC, also with, I guess, several hats because I'm very involved with EuroDIG here. I wanted to echo something that Sandra said earlier, and just sort of to keep in mind going forward in the next 2 days, and that's that EuroDIG and IGF events generally are a place where these discussions start. They're not necessarily a place where they finish, and I'm saying this partly because I work for RIPE NCC, which represents the RIPE community, or facilitates the RIPE community. You've heard from people here today with ICANN, you've heard from people here today in other international organizations. The decisions that are going to be made about internet governance are not necessarily going to happen here, but this is where we can actually start to talk to each other, learn a little about how those processes work, and hopefully get a bit more involved. So if you want to get more involved in RIPE community, please come and talk to me during the week. I'm sure there's opportunities to get more involved in ICANN, and there are plenty of ICANN people here to talk to about that. Don't lose this opportunity to continue to be part of the discussion as we move forward in various venues towards that policy-making end goal.
Thank you very much, Chris. I fully forgot in the beginning of this meeting with all the presidents here and everyone else to introduce myself, so I will do this now. My name is Gert Auväärt. I am the cyber coordinator at the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So my daily life is cybersecurity, but when I got this task, or basically it happened a year ago when I was still stationed in New York working at the UN, my minister called me, Marina Kaljurand at the time, and asked me to come and work as the cyber coordinator here. And I said, yes, absolutely. I had no idea what cyber is, but I will do it, I will learn it. And then she said, there's this one little extra thing you have to do. It's something called EuroDIG. Don't worry, it's nothing, it's very easy, just handle it. There's a few people they want to discuss it. So here we are today, that's why I am here. But Wolfgang, you have the floor, sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Wolfgang Kleinwächter. I'm a retired professor and academic person, but I belong to the 10 people in a cafe in Paris 10 years ago when we said, you know, in Europe we need something like the UN IGF. And I'm really happy to see that we can now celebrate the 10th anniversary in such a wonderful setting. What I want to say here is to echo what Thomas Schneider has just said, that within the 10 years we have seen a lot of progress, but also developments which go in the wrong direction, or what Thomas said, that there are people here in Europe want to turn the clock back and say the 50s, 60s were better than today, you know, with a common European perspective, to go back to the nation state. Last week in the same room here, there was another big conference called CyCon, über cyber conflicts, organized also by the NATO Center here based in Tallinn. And we discussed very delicate issues on cybersecurity and conflicts in cyberspace. And, you know, one of the speakers said, we have moved now from a Cold War to a Code War, so war of codes. So that means this becomes a space of deep conflict. And, you know, my reaction was to this statement, yes, the 1960s were a time of Cold War. We had the Berlin Wall, the Cuba crisis, we had, you know, the Vietnam War, the Middle East War, Soviet tanks were in Prague. So this was a difficult time, but at the end of the day, we were able to turn this Cold War and this risk into what we call a detente. So the 70s, we saw the Helsinki process with a lot of cooperation. And I think this is my conclusion from debate last week, and I hope EuroDIG can make a contribution. We have to avoid a Cold War. We have to avoid that we turn back the clock, and we have to move towards a digital detente so that we can have more cooperation, more exchange, more trust in the internet, and this needs the engagement of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who do not know, Wolfgang is also a member of the Global Commission of Stability of Cyberspace, which was launched in Munich this year and is dealing directly with these issues. So if you have questions to him later, you can address him directly. I move to you, madam. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is Luzewies van der Laan. I'm a member of the ICANN board, and I just wanted to start by asking my colleagues from ICANN if they could please stand up so that you know who we are and that you can approach us. I liked Chris's invitation to engage with RIPE. I saw Maarten Botterman was here, Nigel is here. When I say get up, can you do that? Thanks. You see, we have no authority as the board. Renalia, also from the board. Andrea is back there. Who do I see back there? Oh, John. Oh, hi. Sorry, you're in the darkness. You've got a hat. Who? Oh, sorry, you're in the darkness too, Gabriella. So please, if you want to know anything about ICANN, come and talk to us. What I want to say here today is that we all think the multi-stakeholder model is the only way forward for the internet. And we have to realize that not everybody agrees with that. And unless we make it work, there are going to be more and more calls to move the governance of the internet towards governments or to things which are not, in our view, as open, transparent, and democratic as the multi-stakeholder model. So I want to make sure that when we're here, it seems sometimes it's very friendly, which is good. I want to make sure that we realize that the problems we are dealing with are extremely urgent and extremely serious. And if we can't actually start moving forward and seriously solving these problems on the internet, there's going to be a push from governments to start taking over, to start influencing. And so my call to all of you is stay engaged, get other people engaged, whether you're doing it here at EuroDIG, at the IGF, whether you're doing it in ICANN, whether you're doing it with RIPE, it doesn't really matter because we need all parts of the multi-stakeholder community to work together. But unless we make it work and unless we make sure that the internet delivers for everyone and that we solve the problems on the internet, the governance of the internet, so on and of are very different things when it comes to governance, is seriously under threat. So please keep on putting all this wonderful energy and idealism that I see here to good use, and it's really wonderful to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is John Bullard. I come from London, and I come from the commercial world of finance, of banking, of business, and particularly of operational risk management. I'd like to echo the words of the previous speaker, but I'd like to add as well, there is a very big elephant in the room. That is called liability. Things will go wrong, and when they do go wrong, it is essential that there is a clear process for putting them right. Dispute resolution, the rule of law, these words have all been used today, And I think it is very, very important, in our country as well, in the UK, a crowded island of 60 million people with our own set of problems. But equally, the internet is global in its reach, and we must have a governance structure, particularly a liability model, and the input from commercial vehicles who are good at managing such risk. I include banks in that. And I very much hope this topic can be raised at IGF and future meetings like this. It's a pleasure to be here in Estonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I add one more little story before you gather your courage and queue up. With the preparations of this wonderful dialogue here, we started the process more or less in September, and we had to go basically to all the multi-stakeholders to introduce it and to tell that this will happen, and in June, and we're doing this, and then please participate and try to promote and invite all people. And about 99% of the cases, the first response I got was, yes, that's all very exciting. Let's do the EU presidency first and then do this. And I was like, yes, that's wonderful, but this kind of is 1 month before we start the presidency. So it was very difficult to plan simultaneously, because for a small country like Estonia, we are taking a huge undertaking this year with 6 months of being in the sort of lead role of the council. And as you heard from both my president and from Siim Sikkut, we try and put as much emphasis and stress also on the digital and cyber agenda. There are lots of things we are working on the EU that we try to sort of bring our example on the board, and to move things forward in this. But once again, I encourage you, is there anyone else who wants to address the audience? Here you go, sir.
Thank you. My name is Auke Pauls, and I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm also part of the youth program. I've been attending IGF meetings now for a couple of years, 2 years actually, and I really like being here and being part of the discussion. But sometimes I really miss the discussion. EuroDIG means European Dialogue on Internet Governance, and sometimes I got the feeling that we're listening to the panelists and not really part of a discussion. So I really encourage you all to be part of the discussion and try to make your voice heard, and don't hide behind the computer, but just participate and try to make the internet better. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
So you guilted me into it. So first of all, as a British national, I want to apologise for the fact that you have the presidency 6 months earlier than you really wanted it. So I didn't vote for that. I just want to say, I work for the International Federation of Library Associations. I think everyone in this room is clearly convinced by the internet, gets it, gets the importance of digital literacy, digital skills. I just want to underline, I think, the presentation given at the beginning about what's going on in Estonia and the fact that everyone is getting access, and that you are constantly going out and bridging that digital divide is important. So, I don't know, from our point of view, from the library point of view, we do have librarians here. I won't make them stand up. I'll make you wonder whether your neighbour might be a librarian. It's more exciting. It's a bit beg to think that as we reflect on how to govern the internet, how to make it work, we think in terms of how we can get everyone online and everyone empowered to actually really gain from what's there, because in the end, that's the only real objective worth going for, is actually using the internet to improve everyone's lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My lady, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. Sorina Telanu speaking. We are here at the Pan-European Dialogue on Internet Governance, bringing the whole European IG community, but I would like to bring to your attention a smaller IGF initiative, and this is the Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance. We call it CEDIG. It was launched 3 years ago. We had our meeting 2 weeks ago, and with this occasion, we would like to thank EuroDIG for helping us actually create this initiative. And for those of you who are from our region or who are from outside of our region but would like to know what we are doing, We have a flash session today at 4:30, so you are kindly invited to join us and hear about the Southeastern European region and IG community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The gentleman on my left, please, you have the floor.
My name is Walid Al-Sakaf. I'm a board member of the Internet Society. So, you know, the vision of the Internet Society is the Internet for everyone, everywhere. And so I wanted to remind us that the Internet, while we are here at EuroDIG, the Internet affects everyone. Whatever happens in Europe has an impact on various parts where I come from, the Middle East. It has an impact on how people live their lives across the world. So a very simple example is policy. When you think of policy, policy cannot be confined to a region. It has to be global. That's what the Internet is about. So first of all, let me call on you to visit our booth here at the EuroDIG. And I'd like to also call upon our team here, the Internet Society team, to rise so that they are recognized because they've been working quite hard at this event. Are you there? Sally, Nico? Anyone? Internet Society chapters? Yeah, there they are. At least one. Rise, thank you very much. It's important for us to recognize that the efforts being done right now are part and parcel of what we do. And another important thing is the development aspect. Whatever happens in Africa, for example, where we came from recently at the African Internet Summit, we realize that there are challenges facing parts of the world that may not have a voice. So feel free to speak to those who might not be from Europe, but have a connection. And I also welcome you to come to one of the sessions we have, which is the blockchain session, taking place today at 5 p.m. And when mentioned earlier, the interaction aspect is crucial. So that session, although it's educational, it will be totally interactive. So I promise you that. No panels at all. So you're welcome to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Chengetai Masango. I'm from the United Nations Secretariat of the Internet Governance Forum. Quite happy to be here. This is the oldest national and regional initiative that we have, and it has been an example for others to follow. And at the Global IGF, we've also copied a lot of things that have happened here. I'd just like to also to say that, yes, and also here in Estonia, which is, you know, one of the shining examples of how you can use the digital economy and the internet governance. I'd also just like to say that if anybody wants to, you know, come talk to me, approach me, and talk about the Global IGF and the youth as well, we have some programs for the youth. We have a fellowship program, and if anybody else wants to talk about how to engage in the Global IGF with our intersessional activities, just come and say hi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, good morning. Is it? Thank you. Thanks. Sorry for the height change. Good morning. I'm Patrick Geary from UNICEF, and it's great to see that there are so many people here to talk about human rights and the internet. And one of the things I just wanted to raise is, well, it's great that there are so many youth representatives here. People we don't have in the room include children, at least as we think about children in terms of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which talks about people under the age of 18. And children are, of course, our future, but children are also deeply impacted by the decisions that we make now. And children have rights, and these rights are exercised online. And those rights include rights to privacy, to freedom of expression, to education, to health. So I would just encourage all of you to think about those rights as we have our discussions over the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have the floor, madam.
Hi, my name is Corina Kalugaru, and I'm permanent representative of the Republic of Moldova to the Council of Europe, but had the honor to be as well thematic coordinator of the Council of Europe on information policy. First of all, I would like to thank Estonian government for being a very generous owner and host of this big event. Secondly, I would like to say that the Council of Europe, however, has an internet governance strategy. But this strategy, in fact, demonstrated to us that we need to promote multi-stakeholder platform, but at the same time to understand the responsibility of all stakeholders, including government and business. And recently we are negotiating to establish a platform between the Council of Europe and business enterprises. And I think it's really very important to emphasize that we need to talk about freedoms, about responsibilities, but most importantly to understand each other, because we are promoting, adopting recommendations. All of them should be implemented by the governments, but at the end of the day, it's not just the governments, but all the national stakeholders. So I will invite you to think more about our responsibility at the national level and regional and international level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I do not see anyone queuing, and as an Estonian diplomat, what is sort of encoded in me, if there is silence and if I need to talk, I will talk about the United Nations Security Council campaign. So to avoid that, I suggest that you queue up, otherwise I'm going to go full into sort of the sales pitch mode with the Security Council. We're running in 2019, the elections for 2020, 2021. We would bring the digital agenda to the highest security body of the world. I can continue unless anyone approaches sort of the microphones. If I take, yeah, well, absolutely. We've never been a small country. We want to have our views expressed at the UN, so this is also something that we are striving for. But yes, there's several conferences that have been held, both in this very hall and different others this week and the week before. As was mentioned by Wolfgang, we had 4 days of CyCon, which is the annual cyber conference held by the NATO Center. Lots of most important thinkers in the field of cyber from both the private and public and sector and academia were present, and then once again juggling the different ideas. And one of the items, of course, this year that they were discussing and which got a lot of attention is something that was actually prepared here over the course of the few past years, and it's called the Tallinn Manual. The Tallinn Manual, for those of you who have not heard about it, is a sort of a guidebook on how international law applies to cyberspace. And the second edition, which was launched now this year, focuses especially to cyber operations during peacetime. So those of you interested in also the cyber aspect of the future of internet, I suggest you dig into it and sort of buy the book. We are not selling it. It is the Cambridge Press in the UK, so I'm promoting them. But it is an excellent book compiling views from 20 different professors. And what makes it different from all other sort of guidelines of that nature is that under every single, it has something like 600 pages, and I don't remember the exact number of paragraphs it has in there, but under every sort of norm or rule or guideline they present, there are also the dissenting opinions of the other professors who, so basically what you can do is you take this, you see this is the situation, this is the solution that the professors have come up with, and these are the two sort of alternative solutions that some other professors have said that could also be used. So this is something that has been compiled here in Tallinn by the NATO Center. It is ready and available, and basically what needs to be done with this now is it needs to be taken up by the governments and looked into and seen where we can move forward with this, because international law, as you know, it is still law created by nation states at either the UN in New York or Geneva, and that's how it comes to play. But I'm very glad that work on such important tasks is being prepared. So anyone else on any questions regarding the future of the internet? Whatever comes to your mind, the floor is open. If not, we can go early to there's a question. Thank you very much.
Good morning, my name is Jacques Peglinger. I'm from Switzerland, but at the same time I represent business as an observer at the Council of Europe on data protection and digital economy. And I just wanted to very briefly follow up on what has just been said before about the multi-stakeholder dialogue. And I can only emphasize that business is also very much interested in follow-up on the different responsibility aspects of internet governance. And we think that the EuroDIG is one of the best places to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have a gentleman on my left. You have the floor, sir.
This is my first time here at EuroDIG, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I'm happy to see that there's such a forum where we can raise the things that each and every one of us have closer to their heart. So I myself come from the world of cybersecurity. I've been working for the government for some time, but now I moved away from that. And I have two things that I'd like to talk to you about today. Some of the speakers before me mentioned that we shouldn't be rolling back the time and moving back to 60s, 80s, 90s regarding to how internet has been evolving. One thing that worries me, though, is how young people, and well, I myself, I didn't participate in EuroDIG because I'm kind of on the edge of, in my 30s, so not yet an adult, not anymore a young person, right? So how young people look at privacy on the internet these days, it worries me, and I'm a bit worried about our future and how that's going to turn out. So people posting everything on Facebook, and I think that comes from people not really being aware of the infrastructure behind everything, seeing how these large corporations form part of the internet backbone. We should help them. We should help young people to understand what they're doing and maybe regulate some part of that. But other part I want to talk about is internet freedom. So currently, there are many things happening in the world that will make our governments, I believe some of them in good faith, to change how internet works, to try to change how internet works. Governments in Europe, even in Europe, not only in countries far away, totalitarian countries, but even in Europe, are ganging up on some of our internet freedoms: access, net neutrality, encryption. For example, Latvian government has been blocking access to domain names regarding gambling for some time now. The government now is looking to block access to domain names for taxation purposes. There's strong lobby to block access on audiovisual copyright grounds. Some of these are valid concerns, but I do believe that we should, as international community, look to provide the right tools for our governments to be able to achieve these good deeds without infringing on the rights of innocent internet citizens. If we look just 10, 15 years back on how we dealt with child abuse online, internet, child pornography online, so we've, as a community, found solution to block access to content like that looked outrageous to most of us. And that's how this proposal looks to me regarding these new challenges that our governments are facing and trying to block access to. So we have to find a solution that's really effective. So if you have any thoughts of that, please find me and come talk to me. I would like to hear your solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have the floor, madam.
Thank you. Fiorella Belce from European Schoolnet. It's absolutely encouraging to hear so early at EuroDIG youth being as a keyword and children's rights being brought up and put on the spotlight as they absolutely deserve. Especially thinking about how last year's EuroDIG was tackling youth, I think that this year is absolutely positive to hear it so early. And just because we have to bear in mind the fact that we now are today's digital citizens, but youth represent the digital citizens of tomorrow. And what we now have, digital natives, will be the next generations of end users that we need to work for and protect. Therefore, we would like to welcome you, my colleague Sabrina, and I to the workshop on digital citizenship tomorrow to hear a lot about this discussion and to hear also the voice of youth being catered for, and also to a flash session on children's rights and protection on the internet. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Lucien Reuter. I'm from Luxembourg, and I'm the coordinator of the Luxembourgish National Digital Skill and Job Coalition. So for me as well, the discussion is very important, but furthermore, the exchange of knowledge as best practices and ideas we can use in the future to change what we have already and what we can and need to do for the future to close the skill gap. One of our main targets is closing the skill gap. So we know by 2020 we will have more than 800,000 people we need in European with IT skills. And so I invite everybody who are willing to do something to come to me, to discuss with me, to exchange ideas with me, and even to see if we can do something in Luxembourg as already done here in Estland, Estonia. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Lady on my right, you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Jian Hong. I'm from UNESCO. I'm also a friend of EuroDIG for many years. It's my 5th or 6th EuroDIG. I must say I greatly appreciate this session because this morning we see such a wonderful gender balance morning, and we have excellent women speakers this morning, so I'm so proud of it. That's also one EuroDIG contribution to the global discussion of the internet. Very often it's not easy to have such an outstanding women presence in the occasion. If we talk about future, I'm thinking that, yes, internet is developing so fast, it seems out of our imagination. And, but I'm quite confident if we are stick to those fundamental principles we believe now, we'll go somewhere quite beautiful and credible. Yesterday, UNESCO has done a very interesting session to debate on the internet indicators, how we identify, how we assess the national development of internet. We believe that if we stick to some fundamental principles as we have just endorsed with our member states. I mean, internet governance should be human rights based. We should preserve the openness of internet as a very fundamental spirit of internet since 30 years ago. And we should really promote universal accessibility by everybody. And of course, certainly we promote a multi-secularism approach in this discussion in the policy making towards the future internet. So that's, in this way, we still believe that the internet will definitely advance our civilization globally and also nationally. And again, I want to greet all my friends and colleagues, happy to discuss more in these future days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will try and keep up with that gender balance also later today when we will have the keynote speaker, the Prime Minister of Norway, Madam Erna Solberg. So we really worked on that. But lady, you have the floor.
Hello, I'm Liliana. I come from Data Protection Agency from Macedonia. And I was a little bit provoked when GDPR was mentioned. Also, we are not although we are not member to the European Union, but we are following the GDPR developments. And I think that I just want to echo what was previously mentioned, not also the liability, but accountability are the two main steps in what we see the future of Europe. Actually, the future of Europe is sitting with us. Why? Because the youth here is the future of Europe. And I do believe that skills and trainings and prevention mechanisms and protection rules could only engage all of us and tell us, everybody, that we can be safe on internet. I'm also a non-hate speech activist, and I want to say hi to my friends over there. And as you can see, I'm trying to get a balance between the regulation and between the human rights. So basically, the balance is what we see all here, and the balance is what we all do in our work today. That was my message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On this note, and since I see no queuers at the moment, I will tell a few logistical details of the day. As you know, we will have 2 panels here in this grand ballroom. The first one will be after the coffee break at 11:30, and that will focus on cybersecurity. And we have esteemed panelists from different backgrounds, and it is bound to be an interesting discussion. After the first panel, panel 1, we will have lunch starting at 1, and then 2:30 we continue with workshops. This grand ballroom will be divided into 3. As I mentioned before, on your badge you have the programs and also posted behind the entrances to these rooms, so you can find out which one of the discussions you want to follow. Unfortunately, unless you can clone yourself, you can't be in all 3 rooms, or actually 5 rooms, simultaneously, because we also use the smaller rooms at the other edge of the conference area. And then, as I said, the second panel will be here also in the grand ballroom in a similar setting as we have now, and that will be, pardon me, before that we have the keynote at 4:30 by, as I mentioned, by the Norwegian Prime Minister. And after the keynote we will have the second panel, and that is called Internet in the Post-Truth Era, which is perhaps one of the most political discussions we will hold at this year's EuroDIG. And in that second panel also my boss, the Foreign Minister of Estonia, will be one of the panelists addressing you. After the panel, there is a short break for all of you to relax or to walk in Tallinn. And then there are 2 options, either to take buses from in front of here to the Kultuurikatel venue, which is where we will host the 10th annual gala or anniversary event together with the Estonian Internet Foundation, where you are all welcome, and once again you can't enter unless you have a badge. We have to try and limit the spaces there. So there's 2 options for you guys to get there. Is either you use this wonderful weather that we have like 3 days a year outside, or you take the bus, and the buses also in the end of the evening take you back, but they take you back here. I know that not all of you are staying in this hotel, but it might still be closer to walk from here, or you can just walk directly. Whatever you do, you still have to be here in the morning, because we continue tomorrow morning. Don't stay up too late. So basically that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. We will have a coffee break in 10 minutes, but I guess they're more or less ready already now. Thank you.